Captain Lisa Howard stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force ship Vanguard. She looked through the main viewscreen at the vast space around them. Her ship was small compared to the others gathered for this historic meeting. The Vanguard was one of only 5 ships sent by humans to meet the Galactic Confederation. Lisa watched as massive alien ships moved into position around the meeting point. The crystalline ships of the Zorians glittered like diamonds in the starlight. Each one was over 3 kilometers long. The organic-looking vessels of the Mravani pulsed with strange lights, their hulls seeming to breathe. The energy ships of the Talasi glowed with power, their engines giving off blue light that could be seen from great distances. "Captain, we're being hailed by the Confederation Central Command," said Communications Officer Ben Kelly. His voice was steady, but Lisa could see the tension in his shoulders. "Put it on screen," Lisa ordered. She straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. The screen changed to show an alien with blue skin and 4 eyes. It was Admiral Zorlek of the Talasi, the current head of the Confederation Military Council. "Earth vessels, you will proceed to Docking Bay 7 for the diplomatic meeting. Your modest fleet may remain in the designated holding area." The high alien's voice contained a hint of amusement. "Acknowledged, Admiral. We're moving to the assigned coordinates now," Lisa replied, keeping her voice professional despite the alien's tone. When the communication ended, Lisa turned to her first officer, Commander Steve Mason. "They're not impressed with us, are they?" Steve shook his head. 5 ships against their hundreds. I guess we don't make much of a first impression." "That might work in our favor," Lisa said with a small smile. The 5 human ships moved carefully toward the massive space station that served as the meeting place for the Confederation. The station was a marvel of engineering, a spinning wheel of metal and light that housed representatives from 27 different alien species. On the diplomatic shuttle heading to the station, Admiral Frank Miller reviewed his notes one final time. As overall commander of the human delegation, he carried a heavy responsibility. This first official meeting between humanity and the galactic community would set the tone for all future relations. Beside him sat Dr. Susan Wright, Earth's chief negotiator. She was studying the profiles of the alien representatives they would meet. "Remember, Admiral, the Talasi value displays of strength above all else. The Zorians respect age and tradition. The Mravani only trust those who show emotion openly," Susan said. Frank nodded. "And all of them think we're newcomers who barely know how to leave our solar system." "Let them think that," Susan replied with a knowing look. The shuttle docked at the station and the human delegation stepped out into a massive hall filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some floated in the air, others moved on many legs, and some seemed to flow across the floor like liquid. A tall, thin alien with gold skin approached them. "I am Trelvon, Station Coordinator. Welcome to Confederation Station Alpha. Please follow me to the council chamber." The humans followed Trelvon through wide corridors. Aliens stopped to stare at them as they passed. Some whispered to each other. Others made gestures that the humans' translator devices identified as signs of amusement or dismissal. The council chamber was a vast room with seats arranged in rising tiers around a central speaking platform. The human delegation was shown to seats at the very edge of the room, far from the central area where the major powers sat. Supreme Commander Vexlar of the Talasi stood to speak first. He was tall and imposing, with a metal exoskeleton that enhanced his natural strength. "We welcome our newest potential members to this gathering," he said, gesturing toward the humans. "Though I must question the wisdom of inviting a species that has barely left its gravity well. Their entire fleet consists of 5 small vessels that any one of our scout ships could easily outmatch." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Many alien representatives made sounds or gestures that their species used to show amusement. Frank Miller remained calm, his face showing no reaction to the insult. Beside him, Susan Wright simply smiled politely. Next to speak was High Admiral Krelvas of the Zorians. His crystalline body caught the light as he moved to the central platform. "The Zorian cluster has observed Earth for some time. While these humans have shown remarkable progress for such a young species, they are still children in galactic terms. Perhaps in a few centuries they might earn a proper place at this table. More laughter filled the room. The human delegation continued to sit quietly, allowing the aliens to underestimate them. When it was finally time for the human representative to speak, Frank Miller walked calmly to the central platform. His simple blue uniform looked plain, next to the elaborate dress of the alien representatives. "On behalf of Earth and all humans, I thank the Confederation for this invitation," Frank said. His voice was strong and clear. "We come in peace and with respect for the ancient civilizations gathered here." "Tell us, Admiral Miller," interrupted Vexlar, "why did your government send such a small fleet to this historic meeting? Do you not understand that in the Confederation, a species is judged first by its strength?" Frank smiled slightly. "We understand that different cultures have different values, Supreme Commander. Humans value efficiency and purpose. We brought exactly what we needed for a peaceful diplomatic mission." "And if it were not peaceful?" asked another alien representative. "Then 5 ships would be sufficient," Frank replied simply. This caused a new wave of laughter, even louder than before. As the diplomatic talks continued over the next few days, the human delegation was largely ignored. The major powers of the Confederation discussed trade routes, defense pacts, and technology exchanges, while the humans watched from their seats at the edge of the room. On the 3rd day, during a break in the formal talks, Captain Lisa Howard was approached by a Talassi officer in a side corridor. "Your ships are quite interesting," the alien said. "So small, yet your energy readings are unusual. Our sensors cannot fully analyze them." "We do our best with what we have," Lisa replied, with a polite smile. "It must be difficult coming from such a primitive world," the Talassi continued. "The Supreme Commander believes your species was admitted to these talks too early. Some of us agree." "Everyone is entitled to their opinion," Lisa said. "Indeed. Just know that in this galaxy, the strong survive and the weak." The alien let the sentence hang unfinished. Lisa looked directly at the Talassi. "On Earth we have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog." The alien's translator struggled with the idiom, but the meaning was clear enough. The Talassi made a dismissive gesture and walked away. Back on the Vanguard, Lisa met with the other human ship captains via secure channel. Captain Nicole Baker of the Peregrine, Captain William Grant of the Defender, Captain Greg Dixon of the Horizon, and Captain Diane Kelly of the Intrepid. "They're still laughing at us," Greg said, his face serious on the screen. "Good," Lisa replied. "Admiral Miller's strategy is working perfectly. The less they think of us now, the more surprised they'll be if there's trouble." "And there will be trouble," Nicole added. "Our intelligence picked up unusual communication patterns from ships at the edge of the system. Something's happening." Lisa nodded. "We'll continue as planned. Keep all advanced systems in standby mode. As far as the Confederation knows, we're just 5 small, unimpressive ships from a backwater planet. Hidden in plain sight," William said with a small smile. "Exactly," Lisa replied. "They laugh at our tiny fleet now, but they don't understand one important thing about humans." "What's that?" asked Diane. Lisa's expression grew serious. "We've spent our entire history learning how to defeat larger, stronger opponents. 3 weeks passed since the first meeting between humans and the Galactic Confederation. The diplomatic talks had settled into a routine. Every day, representatives from the 27 alien species gathered in the Grand Council chamber. They discussed trade agreements, border disputes, and cultural exchanges. And every day, the human delegation sat quietly at the edge of the room, largely ignored by the more powerful species. Lieutenant Jack Peterson monitored the sensor array aboard the EDF Vanguard. His job was to watch for any unusual activity around the massive space station. Most days were quiet. Today was different. "Captain?" Jack called out, his eyes fixed on the screen in front of him. "I'm picking up strange energy readings at the edge of the system." Captain Lisa Howard moved quickly to his station. "Show me." Jack pointed to several blinking dots on his display. "These readings appeared 5 minutes ago. They don't match any known Confederation ship signatures." Lisa frowned. Could it be a sensor malfunction? I ran 3 separate diagnostic checks. The readings are real. Jack adjusted some settings on his console. Whatever these ships are, they're moving fast toward the station, and they're trying to hide their approach. Lisa didn't hesitate. Alert the other Earthships, then send a message to Admiral Miller on the station, code yellow. On the diplomatic station, Admiral Frank Miller received the alert during a minor trade discussion. He glanced at his datapad, then caught the eye of Dr. Susan Wright across the room. With a subtle nod, he signaled her to be ready. Frank approached. Trelvon, the station coordinator. Excuse me, but our ships have detected unidentified vessels approaching the station at high speed. The gold-skinned alien looked annoyed at the interruption. Your sensors must be malfunctioning. Our defense grid would have detected any approach. I respectfully suggest checking your long-range scanners, Frank insisted. Trelvon made a gesture that humans had learned meant irritation, but he spoke quietly into his communication device. A moment later, his 4 eyes widened. How did your ships detect this before our sensors? He asked. Frank didn't answer the question. Who are they? Trelvon's voice dropped to a whisper. Drazak Empire ships, at least 30 of them, heavily armed. The Drazak were not part of the Confederation. They were a warrior species known for their aggression and territorial expansion. Their sudden appearance could only mean trouble. You should alert the Confederation Security Council, Frank suggested. Trelvon hurried away. Within minutes, the calm atmosphere of the diplomatic meeting shattered. Alarms blared throughout the station. Emergency announcements in multiple languages instructed all representatives to return to their quarters. Frank gathered the human diplomats. Dr. Wright, you and your team need to get to the evacuation point. Our shuttle will meet you there. Susan nodded. What about you? I need to speak with the Security Council first. The Drazak aren't here by accident. In the Council's emergency chamber, representatives from the major powers argued loudly. Supreme Commander Vexillar of the Talasi tried to establish order. Our ships are moving to defensive positions, he announced. The Drazak will not dare attack once they see our combined fleet. High Admiral Krelvos of the Zorians disagreed. The Drazak would not come here without a plan. They must know they are outnumbered. Frank Miller stepped forward. May I offer a suggestion? Several alien representatives made dismissive gestures. Vexillar looked down at the human admiral. This is not the time for input from junior members. Before Frank could respond, a massive explosion shook the station. The lights flickered, then dimmed to emergency levels. A panicked voice came over the station's communication system. Multiple Drazak warships have decloaked near the station. They're attacking the docked vessels. The council chamber erupted, in chaos. Representatives rushed to contact their ships. The massive view screens showed Confederation vessels scrambling to respond to the surprise attack. Back on the Vanguard, Lisa Howard issued rapid commands. All systems to combat readiness, reactor to full capacity but maintain emission dampening. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency. Unlike the chaotic response of the Confederation ships, the 5 human vessels shifted into perfect formation. Captain, Jack Peterson called out. Dr. Wright's diplomatic shuttle is leaving the station, but 2 Drazak destroyers are moving to intercept them. Lisa's expression hardened. They're targeting the diplomats. Clever strategy. Target the lead Drazak ship. Prepare for microjump. Commander Steve Mason looked concerned. Captain, if we reveal our jump capability now, we have no choice. Lisa cut him off. Those are our people on that shuttle. The Vanguard's engines glowed briefly, then the ship disappeared from its position. A split second later, it reappeared directly between the diplomatic shuttle and the approaching Drazak destroyers. The other 4 human ships moved quickly to support the Vanguard. Together they formed a protective screen around the diplomatic shuttle. From the station, aliens watched in disbelief. The tiny human ships had positioned themselves against warships many times their size. Those fools will be vaporized, muttered Krelvos, the Zorian High Admiral, as he watched on the council chamber viewscreen. Vexillar nodded in agreement. Brave but futile. Their ships are too small to withstand Drazak weapons. The first Drazak destroyer fired a massive energy beam at the Vanguard. Everyone watching expected the small human ship to explode. Instead, something extraordinary happened. The energy beam struck what appeared to be empty space in front of the Vanguard. The beam scattered into thousands of smaller streams of energy that harmlessly dispersed around the ship. "What just happened?" demanded Vexlar. A Talasi science officer checked the readings. "The human ship appears to have some kind of shield technology, but our sensors cannot identify its nature." On the bridge of the Vanguard, Lisa Howard remained calm. "Shield status?" "Quantum displacement field holding at 98%, reported Lieutenant Adam Ross at the defense station. "They hit us with everything they had, and it barely registered." "Return fire," Lisa ordered. "Conventional weapons only. Let's not show all our cards at once." The Vanguard fired what appeared to be standard energy weapons. The blasts struck the Drazak destroyer's shields with surprising force, causing them to flicker. The other human ships joined the attack, each firing, precisely at different points on the Drazak vessels. Their coordinated assault confused the enemy ships, which had expected easy targets. On board the EDF Defender, Captain William Grant spoke to his weapons specialist, Commander Alan Garcia. "The Drazak are adjusting their shield frequencies. They think we're using standard energy weapons," Alan smiled. "Should we show them their mistake?" "Not yet," William replied. "Standard protocols first. Admiral Miller's orders." The battle intensified as more Drazak ships moved toward the station. The Confederation vessels were finally organizing their defense, but their coordination was poor. Each species fought according to its own battle doctrine, with little communication between them. In contrast, the 5 human ships moved as one, protecting both the diplomatic shuttle and each other with precision that seemed impossible for such a small fleet. From the council chamber, Frank Miller watched the battle with a calm expression. Beside him, the alien representative stared in confusion at the tactical displays. "Your ships," Vexlar said to Frank, his voice less dismissive than before. "They are performing beyond their apparent capabilities." Frank nodded slightly. "We build our ships to be efficient." "This is more than efficiency," argued Krelvos. "Your vessels move in perfect coordination, and their defensive capabilities are unlike anything in our records." Frank allowed himself a small smile. Humans have a long history of being underestimated. The battle was far from over. The Drazak ships regrouped and changed tactics. Instead of targeting the human vessels directly, they began firing at the space station itself, aiming for critical systems. A large explosion rocked the diplomatic section of the station. Alarms blared even louder than before. "They've breached the station's hull in Section 12, reported a station officer. "That's near the main power core." Frank Miller's expression grew serious. "If they disable the station's power core, thousands will die." He activated his communication device. "All Earth vessels, this is Admiral Miller. The station is under direct attack. Section 12 near the power core. Protect the station at all costs. Authorization Sierra 9-3. On the bridge of the Vanguard, Lisa Howard understood what that code meant. "Sierra 9-3 confirmed," she replied. "We're going to Plan B." "Plan B is now in effect," Captain Lisa Howard announced to her crew on the Vanguard. "Remove all emission dampeners. Bring all systems to full capacity." Throughout the 5 human ships, hidden systems came online. Lights dimmed briefly as power redirected to previously concealed weapons and defense mechanisms. On the EDF Defender, Commander Alan Garcia sat at the weapons control station. His fingers moved quickly across the glowing panel. "Quantum displacement shield now at full power," he reported to Captain William Grant. "All restrictions removed." William nodded. "Target the Drazak ships attacking the station's power core. Use the QD cannon, minimal setting." Alan looked up in surprise. "Minimal setting? That's still enough to—" "Those are our orders," William said firmly. "Show them what we can do, but not everything we can do." The Defender moved into position. Its hull seemed to shimmer as hidden panels opened to reveal a weapon unlike anything the Confederation had seen before. On the Confederation station, Aliens gathered around view screens to watch the battle. They had expected the small human ships to be destroyed quickly. Instead, they saw something impossible. The Defender fired what appeared to be a modest energy pulse toward a large Dryzak warship. The pulse moved slowly at first, then accelerated. When it struck the Dryzak vessel, the effect was dramatic. Space itself seemed to bend around the point of impact. The Dryzak ship's shields collapsed instantly. The hull crumpled inward as if crushed by an invisible hand. "What was that?" demanded Supreme Commander Vexlar, watching from the council chamber. A Talasi science officer checked the readings on his device. His four eyes widened in shock. "It appears to be some form of localized gravity weapon," he said. "The humans have somehow found a way to manipulate gravitational fields with extreme precision." "Impossible," said High Admiral Krelvos of the Zorians. "That technology is theoretical at best. We have studied it for centuries without success." Frank Miller stood quietly, watching the aliens' reactions with interest. Meanwhile, the EDF Peregrine demonstrated another surprising capability. Captain Nicole Baker gave a simple command: "Activate the ghost drive." The Peregrine's outline blurred. Then the ship seemed to fade from view, becoming transparent like a ghost. It moved through space toward a Dryzak command vessel, passing directly through debris and energy fields as if they weren't there. The Dryzak ships fired desperately at the Peregrine, but their weapons passed harmlessly through it. When the human ship reached its target, it suddenly solidified again, now inside the Dryzak vessel's shield perimeter. From this position, the Peregrine fired conventional weapons at point-blank range. The Dryzak command ship's engines failed, and it drifted powerless. On the EDF horizon, Captain Greg Dixon prepared another surprise. "Deploy microdrones." Small hatches opened along the horizon's hull. Thousands of tiny objects, each smaller than a human hand, flew out in perfect formation. These microdrones moved too fast for most sensors to track. They surrounded a group of 3 Dryzak destroyers, then attached themselves to the hulls. The Dryzak ships suddenly lost power. Their weapons went offline and their engines shut down. The mighty warships drifted helplessly in space. Back at the station, the alien representatives watched in stunned silence. The humans' tiny fleet was systematically disabling Dryzak warships many times their size. Their energy output exceeds their apparent reactor capabilities by orders of magnitude, said a Marivani engineer, checking the sensor readings. It should be impossible for vessels that small. In the council chamber, Frank Miller finally spoke. Not impossible, just efficient. Vexlar turned to the human admiral. "You deceived us. Your ships are far more advanced than you led us to believe." "We never claimed to be primitive," Frank replied calmly. "You assumed that based on the size of our fleet." The battle continued around the station. The Dryzak forces, realizing they were outmatched, changed tactics again. Instead of attacking the human ships directly, they concentrated their fire on the station itself. A massive explosion shook the entire structure. Emergency alarms blared loudly. "They've hit the main reactor," shouted a station officer. "Containment field is failing. We have 30 minutes before catastrophic overload." Panic spread through the station. A reactor overload would destroy the entire structure and kill everyone aboard. On the Vanguard, Lisa Howard received the alert. "Dr. Olivia Martinez, report to the bridge immediately." Dr. Martinez, the fleet's chief science officer, arrived quickly. Her dark eyes took in the situation at a glance. "The station's reactor is using Talasi fusion technology," she said. "Conventional containment methods won't work for this type of cascade failure." Lisa nodded. "Can you help them?" "I can try." Olivia moved to a communication station. "Patch me through to the station's engineering section." On the station, Chief Engineer Tolk, a Mravani, was working desperately to stabilize the reactor. His 6 arms moved rapidly across multiple control panels. Nothing was working. A communication channel opened. A human voice spoke clearly. "This is Lieutenant Samantha Lee, engineering specialist from the EDF Intrepid. We can help with your reactor problem." Tolk made a gesture of frustration. "We don't need help from newcomers. This is advanced Talasi technology. Trust me, Samantha insisted. Your conventional approach won't work with this type of cascade failure. The resonance pattern is accelerating too quickly. What do you know of resonance patterns? Tolk demanded. Enough to save your station, Samantha replied. I'm sending you a containment protocol now. Implement it immediately. Data flowed to Tolk's screen. He studied it quickly, his expression changing from dismissal to surprise, then to reluctant acceptance. This might work, he admitted. But I've never seen this approach before. That's because we developed it, Samantha explained. Please hurry. Tolk implemented the human protocol. The alarming sounds from the reactor began to fade. Readings that had been flashing red slowly turned yellow, then green. It's working, Tolk said, his voice filled with disbelief. The cascade is reversing. Around the station, the battle was turning decidedly in favor of the Confederation forces, led by the 5 human ships. The remaining Drazak vessels began to retreat. On the bridge of the Vanguard, Lisa Howard allowed herself a small smile. Inform Admiral Miller that the immediate threat has been contained. Commander Steve Mason studied the tactical display. Captain, the Confederation ships are regrouping. They're watching us very carefully now. I imagine they are, Lisa replied. We've certainly gotten their attention. In the council chamber, the alien representatives had stopped arguing. All eyes were on Admiral Frank Miller and the tactical displays showing the battle. Your 5 ships just defeated a Drazak attack, force that would have troubled our entire fleet, Vexillar said slowly. How is this possible? Frank smiled slightly. Humans have always had to be creative. Our history is full of smaller forces defeating larger ones through innovation and efficiency. And you hid these capabilities from us, accused Krelvos. We showed what was appropriate for a peaceful diplomatic mission, Frank corrected. When circumstances changed, so did our response. A communication alert sounded. Dr. Susan Wright appeared on screen, safe aboard one of the human ships. Admiral, the diplomatic team is secure, she reported. The Drazak forces are in full retreat. Thank you, Doctor, Frank replied. Please, join us in the council chamber as soon as possible. I believe the nature of our discussions with the Confederation is about to change significantly. As the alien representatives whispered among themselves, Frank stood quietly. The humans' strategy had worked perfectly. Their seemingly insignificant fleet had revealed just enough of its true capabilities to earn respect without showing everything they could do. In space around the station, the 5 Earth ships resumed their formation. To outside observers, they, once again, looked small and unimpressive. But no one in the Galactic Confederation would make the mistake of laughing at them again. The battle was not over. Though many Drazak ships had retreated, a core group of their most powerful warships continued fighting. Their attacks became more desperate and dangerous as they realized they were losing. Commander Paul Bennett coordinated the 5 human ships from his tactical station on the EDF Vanguard. His hands moved quickly over the control panel as he adjusted their formation. The Drazak are changing tactics again, Paul reported to Captain Lisa Howard. They're concentrating fire on the station's docking bays. If they destroy those, no one will be able to evacuate. Lisa nodded. They're trying to take hostages now. Typical Drazak strategy when they're losing. She opened a channel to the other human ships. All captains implement battle network protocol. Full integration. On each of the 5 human vessels, crew members connected their ship's systems to a shared network. Instead of fighting as individual vessels, they would now function as parts of a single unified fighting force. The aliens watched in amazement as the human ships began moving with impossible coordination. They seemed to think as one, reacting to threats before they fully developed. How are they doing that? Asked a Zorian officer on the station. Their movements are too perfectly synchronized for normal communication. A Talasi engineer studied the sensor readings. They appear to be using some kind of neural link technology. Their ships are sharing information and responding as a single entity. In the council chamber, Frank Miller met with the Confederation leadership. Dr. Susan Wright had joined him, along with the other human diplomats who had been evacuated from the station. The Drazak won't give up easily, Frank explained to the alien representatives. Their culture doesn't allow for retreat without severe consequences. Supreme Commander Vexillar of the Talasi had lost much of his earlier arrogance. Our combined fleets are moving to support your vessels, Admiral Miller, though I admit they may not be needed. All help is welcome, Frank replied diplomatically. The Drazak still outnumber us despite our technological advantages. Outside, the battle shifted again. A massive Drazak dreadnought, nearly 10 kilometers long, moved toward the station. Its size dwarfed even the largest Confederation ships. That's their flagship, the Deathbringer, said Krelvos of the Zorians. It has never been defeated in battle. The enormous Drazak vessel fired a powerful beam weapon at the station. The energy blast was strong enough to penetrate the station's shields, damaging several levels. On the Vanguard, Lisa made a quick decision. Target the Deathbringer. All ships, implement Maneuver Omega. The 5 human ships moved into a star formation. Energy began to flow visibly between them, connecting them with streams of blue-white light. What are they doing now? Vexillar asked, watching from the council chamber viewport. No one had an answer. The Confederation had never seen anything like this before. The human ships began to rotate faster and faster, their energy connections growing brighter. Then, as one, they released a massive energy pulse toward the Drazak flagship. The pulse struck the Deathbringer with tremendous force. Its powerful shields flickered and failed. Parts of its hull began to break apart. On the Defender, Commander Alan Garcia monitored the weapon systems. QD cannon effect at 70%, Captain. The Drazak flagship is severely damaged but still operational. Captain William Grant nodded. Prepare for a second strike if needed. But before the human ships could attack again, something unexpected happened. The remaining Drazak vessels moved to protect their flagship. They positioned themselves between the Deathbringer and the human fleet. They're sacrificing themselves, Lisa observed. That's unusual for the Drazak. Lieutenant Jack Peterson checked his sensors. Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from those ships. They're overloading their reactors. Lisa understood immediately. They're going to self-destruct near the station. Everyone, brace for impact. She opened a channel to all ships in the area. All vessels, clear the area near the station. Drazak suicide attack imminent. Most of the Confederation ships moved away quickly, but they were too far from the station to help, and the Drazak ships were too close for a conventional defense. On T, the intrepid Captain Diane Kelly made a quick calculation. We won't be able to stop all of them with conventional weapons. She turned to her first officer. Activate the phase shield. Extended range. Captain, the phase shield hasn't been tested at that range, her officer warned. No choice, Diane Kreis replied firmly. Do it now. The Intrepid moved between the station and the approaching Drazak ships. A soft white glow spread from the human vessel, expanding outward to form a dome of energy that encompassed the entire station. Moments later, the Drazak ships exploded. The combined force of their reactors created a massive shockwave that rushed toward the station. The aliens watched in horror, certain that nothing could stop such a powerful blast. But when the shockwave hit the white energy dome, something remarkable happened. Instead of passing through, the destructive energy was absorbed into the dome itself. The white glow turned bright blue, then purple, as it processed the enormous energy input. It's absorbing the explosion, whispered a Talasi scientist in awe, converting the energy rather than blocking it. When the last of the shockwave had been absorbed, the energy dome contracted back to the Intrepid. The ship glowed brightly for several seconds, then returned to normal. In the council chamber, the alien representatives stood in stunned silence. The Confederation's most advanced ships couldn't have protected the station from that attack. Your vessel just absorbed enough energy to power a small planet, Vexillar said to Frank Miller. How is that possible? Phase shield technology, Frank explained simply. It converts energy rather than trying to block it. But such technology is theoretical. argued a Miravani scientist. The power requirements alone would be impossible for a ship that size. Frank smiled slightly. Not impossible. Just different from your approach. The battle was finally ending. The damaged Drazak flagship limped away, followed by the few surviving enemy vessels. The immediate danger had passed. Throughout the Confederation fleet, ships began standing down from combat status. Damage reports flowed in from all sectors. Many alien vessels had been destroyed or badly damaged. In contrast, the 5 human ships appeared almost untouched. They resumed their position near the station, once again looking small and unimpressive to casual observers. On the Vanguard, Lisa, Howard received a message from Admiral Miller. "Well done, Captain. The Confederation leadership is requesting a full briefing on our technology and tactics." "How much should we share?" Lisa asked. "Enough to build trust, not enough to compromise security," Frank replied. "The standard protocol for first contact scenarios." Lisa smiled. "They're not laughing anymore, are they?" "No," Frank agreed. "But respect born of fear isn't our goal. We need to show them that humans can be valuable allies, not just powerful ones." As repair teams worked throughout the station, the 5 human ships maintained their vigilant watch. The Confederation fleet moved around them cautiously, keeping a respectful distance. Major Ryan Cooper, tactical officer on the horizon, summed it up best. "Funny how quickly attitudes change when they see what we can really do." Captain Greg Dixon nodded. "That's why we held back during the diplomatic meetings. First impressions matter, but second impressions can be more powerful." The 5 small ships had proven something important today. In the vastness of space, appearances could be deceiving, and humans had perfected the art of being underestimated. 3 days after the battle, the Confederation station had been mostly repaired. The damaged sections were sealed off, and the main power systems were stable again. Throughout the station, aliens from many different species worked together with a new sense of unity. Nothing brought people together like a shared enemy. Admiral Frank Miller stood at the center of the council chamber. The room was packed with representatives from all 27 species of the Galactic Confederation. Unlike the first meeting, when the humans had been seated at the far edge of the room, Frank now stood at the place of honor. "On behalf of Earth and all humans, I thank the Confederation for standing with us against the Drazak attack," Frank began. "Working together, we were able to defend this station and protect the diplomatic mission." Supreme Commander Vexlar of the Talasi stepped forward. The tall alien no longer looked down at Frank with disdain. There was respect in his 4 eyes now. "It is we who should thank you, Admiral Miller," Vexlar said. "Without your ships, this station would have been destroyed. Many lives were saved by human technology and courage." Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Many of the aliens made gestures of respect toward the human delegation. High Admiral Krelvos of the Zorians spoke next. "We have all learned an important lesson. Size does not always equal strength. Numbers do not always bring victory." Frank nodded. "That is a lesson humans learned long ago. Our history is filled with smaller forces defeating larger ones through innovation, strategy, and efficiency." "Tell us, Admiral," asked a Miravani representative. "Why did Earth send only 5 ships to this historic meeting? Was it to hide your true capabilities from us?" Frank smiled slightly. "Not to hide them exactly. We wanted to be judged by who we are, not by the size of our fleet. Earth has limited resources compared to many of your worlds. We learned to do more with less." "And what we saw in battle?" pressed Vexlar. "The gravity weapons, the phase shields, the neural linking technology. Is that the full extent of human capabilities?" Dr. Susan Wright stepped forward to stand beside Frank. "What you saw was what we brought to a diplomatic conference," she said carefully. "Our ships carried appropriate systems for self-defense and protecting allies." The aliens understood the subtle message. The humans had revealed only some of their technology, not all of it. Captain Lisa Howard and the other ship captains joined the diplomatic team in the council chamber. They wore their simple blue uniforms, looking modest compared to the elaborate dress of the alien officers. "I am curious," said a Talasi engineer, approaching Lisa. Your ships appear to use energy in ways our scientists thought impossible. How did humans develop such technology when you've only been in space for such a short time? Lisa exchanged a glance with Frank before answering. We had to be creative. Humans faced many challenges on Earth that forced us to think differently about energy, space, and matter. Would Earth be willing to share some of this technology with the Confederation? Asked Vexlar. Frank nodded. That's why we came here, to establish peaceful relations and begin cultural and technological exchanges. But such exchanges must go both ways. The aliens discussed among themselves. After a few minutes, Vexlar spoke for the group. The Galactic Confederation formally invites Earth to join as a full member, with all rights and responsibilities. Your proven capabilities have earned you a place at the center table, not the edge. Frank smiled. Earth accepts your invitation, with gratitude and hope for a peaceful future together. The formal ceremony to welcome Earth into the Confederation took place the next day. The massive council chamber was decorated with symbols from all member species, including the blue and green Earth flag. After the ceremony, a reception was held in one of the station's large gathering halls. Aliens and humans mingled, sharing food, drink, and stories. The atmosphere was far different from the first tense meetings. Lisa Howard found herself speaking with Admiral Krell Voss of the Zorians. The crystalline alien's body caught the light as he turned toward her. We have existed in this galaxy for 30 millennia, Krell Voss said. Yet in many ways your species sees things we have become blind to. Perhaps that is your true strength. Lisa smiled diplomatically. Every species has its gifts. We look forward to learning from you as well. I am most curious about one thing, continued Krell Voss. During the battle, your 5 ships moved with perfect coordination, as if guided by a single mind. How is this possible? We call it the battle network, Lisa explained. It allows our ships to share information and act as a single unit rather than 5 separate vessels. Fascinating, said Krell Voss. The Zorians tried to develop similar technology centuries ago, but abandoned it as impractical. Perhaps we gave up too soon. Across the room, Dr. Olivia Martinez, the fleet's chief science officer, was speaking with a group of alien scientists. They bombarded her with questions about human technology. Your phase shield that absorbed the Drazak explosion, said a Talasi scientist. It violates several laws of physics as we understand them. Olivia smiled. Or perhaps it suggests that your understanding of those laws is incomplete. At another table, Lieutenant Samantha Lee was explaining to Chief Engineer Tolk how the humans had stabilized the station's reactor. You reversed the cascade failure by introducing a counter-resonance pattern, Tolk said. My people would never have considered that approach. Sometimes you need fresh eyes on an old problem, Samantha replied. Throughout the reception, Frank Miller observed these interactions with satisfaction. The humans were being accepted as equals now, not dismissed as newcomers. Their strategy had worked perfectly. Lieutenant Eric Davidson approached Frank quietly. The young officer had designed the initial, humble beginning strategy that had guided their first contact approach. It worked even better than we expected, sir, Eric said softly. Frank nodded. Sometimes appearing harmless is the best way to demonstrate strength. The Confederation now respects us without fearing us too much. And the Drazak? Eric asked. They'll be back eventually, Frank replied. But next time we'll have allies. As Mao. The reception continued. Captain Lisa Howard stepped away for a moment. She moved to a viewport where she could see the 5 human ships floating in space near the station. From this distance, they still looked small compared to the massive alien vessels around them. Commander Steve Mason joined her at the viewport. Quite a change from when we first arrived, isn't it, Captain? Lisa nodded. They laughed at our tiny fleet then. They're not laughing now, Steve observed. No, Lisa agreed. But that was never our goal. We didn't come here to intimidate or dominate. We came to join something larger than ourselves. She turned away from the viewport to look at the gathered aliens and humans talking and learning from each other. This is our real victory, Lisa said. Not the battle, But what comes after? As the Earth ships prepared to return home with news of their successful first contact, Admiral Miller sent a coded message back to Earth High Command. Operation Humble beginning successful. Phase 2 authorized. They no longer laugh. The 5 ships that had been mocked as tiny and insignificant would return to Earth as honored representatives of a new galactic power. And the message they carried was simple. In the vast wilderness of space, appearances could be deceiving, especially when dealing with humans.